All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is October 14th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody out there. Well, first and foremost, thank you to all my paying subscribers. Thank you so much for being a part of the BYOB experience. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That does not, I don't take that lightly. And I don't take it for granted. I try to provide actionable content and awesome guidance every day. All right, so appreciate that. Thank you, everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you for following the content, subscribing to the content, liking the content, leaving kind words, and sharing the content. Again, special shout out to John Jordan, Bob Jordan, Kathy, Sarah Roasted for sharing the content. Appreciate that. All right, today is the 14th of October, 2025. This is the BYOB Trading Room, and my name is John Carignan. This is the day trading service for the Hit and Run Candlesticks family. All right, let's take a look at the markets today. All right, let's move this out of the way. Okay, had a good day today. It was a nice, easy day. Today was easy. Okay, because we had this downtrend right here on the 10-minute chart that did not break the rubber band candle on the 10-minute chart. Okay, so you can see right there there's the spike. This is the free floating candle, no break. All right, so that was easy. So then we came all the way back up and we started a 10-minute uptrend, which actually kind of peaked out right here at about probably 2:30, 2 o'clock, peaked out. And then consolidated into the close. Guess they couldn't get any higher, so they had a rapid melt off right there, right into VWAP. Okay, right at the close. Instead of moving up, they decided to have a pullback right into VWAP. So there's the 10-minute, nice 10-minute uptrend. That's my favorite. Let's take a look at the 2-hour. Okay, 2-hour was, this is hard to decipher. Let's see if it's any different here. No, let's see. 2-hour was still in a downtrend. Okay, still in a downtrend on the 2-hour. 10-minute into the close, 10-minute downtrend into the close. 2-hour, back to the 2-hour. Geez, that's hard to find out. Let me just push this down. All right, looks like the yellow line is on top of the 8 at the end of the day. Okay, so that's 2-hour uptrend. Not a very convincing uptrend, but it's there. All right, 2-hour on top. Okay, now my favorite trade, 2-hour uptrend, got a double bottom down here. My favorite trade, 2-hour uptrend, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that resides inside a 2-hour uptrend, that resides inside the daily uptrend, the weekly uptrend, the monthly uptrend. You get it. Okay, so all the bigger time frames are on in uptrends, so they're kind of like supporting my little 10-minute uptrend as it moves up to the upside. So that's my favorite trade. Okay, and right now we didn't have that. What we did in the past, but recently, notice 2-hour downtrend, so we didn't have the 2-hour, and of course the daily's also in a downtrend because they broke a low earlier and made a lower low, so that put them in a downtrend right there on SPY. But if they're not moving down, that could benefit you if they're not moving down, and they're in a downtrend, but the weekly and the monthly are still in an uptrend, and the 2-hour happens to be in an uptrend. You get that 10-minute uptrend in there. That becomes a really nice day. So there's SPY. You can see really from the beginning of the day, just a little dip right. Okay, right here. Dip first thing in the morning, gap down. All right, notice the bulls filled the gap. Okay, that is weakness on the bear's part for a little bit. Putting in a higher low. All right, we got a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. Unless the bulls recover this, okay, I'm saying probably a good chance we get continuation of this 10-minute downtrend tomorrow morning. We'll see what happens. So there's SPY on the 10-minute. Let's take a look at the daily chart, see where that comes out to be. All right, daily chart, higher outside day. Okay, higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap and under the 17 EMA. Still in a downtrend. Okay, they got themselves in a downtrend by here's a low. They made a lower low. So there's SPY on the daily chart. Weekly chart, still in an uptrend. Monthly chart, still in an uptrend right there. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ monthly chart, still in an uptrend. Weekly, still in an uptrend. Daily chart, all right, daily, they don't have anything that poked below the 17. So they're still in their uptrend up there. All right, top of quadrant 4, they're bullish and still in the uptrend. Now SPY, okay, is up there as well with the quadrant lines. Not sure where my quadrant lines went, but we can fix that. Okay, top of quadrant 4, but they also made a lower low, so I have to put one more set of quadrant lines in there. Okay. All right, you can see they closed under the midpoint right there. All right, so that's they didn't close in bearish territory, but they didn't close in bullish territory right there. Okay, so they're kind of neutral, bullish up there. Okay, because here's the perspective from the high down to the low, and here's the perspective from the low up to the high. Okay, of course, more candles, more time. The more candles, the more time, the more dominant the price action or the bias should be. You can't base your bias on just 2 or 3 candles, okay? But you do have to make note of it, all right, because that is a pretty loud candle. Now notice on this candle, all right, for SPY, no follow through. Okay, came right down and no follow through. Got a nice bounce back to the 8 EMA, but there is no follow through on this candle. Now they should have had some follow through today, and they went down there and they tagged the low right there, but you know, still didn't make a lower low, still, you know, didn't make a significant lower low. So we came back up to attack the highs right here at the 8 EMA right there. So no follow through on this igniting candle. All right, it's a good chance we're coming all the way back up. We'll see what happens. All right, things kind of melting off. Things kind of flaky right now because you know, you got price action. You know, huge gap down and then melts off to you know, to challenge the prior low, failure to make a significant lower low, and lo and behold, we're back up here at the highs from yesterday, all right, and making actually making higher highs right there, okay, and we were consolidating up there for a little bit, so price action puts in a higher low, could be a good chance we start consolidating, and maybe we put in some consolidation over prior consolidation. We'll see how that works out. All right, right now we have a little bit of consolidation over prior consolidation. You can see we've got, yeah, that's not going to work. All right, let's try this. And task manager, hold on. Oh, it's working. All right. All right, so right here we got consolidation. Okay. Oh, let's try it one more time. All right. And you can see today we had some consolidation over consolidation. That was bullish environment. All right. Then we had a pullback. Now, if the bulls can recover this, that's very bullish. Consolidation over prior consolidation. Have a pullback to a higher low. Failure to make a lower low right here. Okay. And then if we make a higher low right here, I would look for price to come back up here and consolidate. All right. We'll see if they can get that done. But there's SPY on the 10-minute chart. All right, so 10-minute is a little bullish consolidation over prior consolidation. That is a bullish environment right there. Make a note of that. Okay, so there's SPY on the game plan. Take a look at the game plan. You can see not much happened on the game plan except for a 10-minute uptrend happened to manifest down here long before the green erases red. Up there, okay, so we were able to trade that 10-minute uptrend to the upside up there, Okay, so there's SPY on the 10-minute with the game plan on there. So there's SPY on the 10-minute. Let's take a look at QQQ. And we'll look at QQQ with nothing on there. QQQ, 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, 2-hour downtrend coming into the close right there. On the daily chart, looking like, yeah, it's a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. But not in a daily downtrend, but 2 hours still in a downtrend. And the 10-minute was rocking a nice consolidation up there. And then maybe they put in a higher low. We'll see what they want to do with that. All right. And look, they even came down here and failed to make a significant lower low, kind of indicating we're probably coming back up here to challenge the highs. I'm going to say they didn't get anywhere, all right, on those highs. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. There's QQQ on the 10-minute chart. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, here's IWM on the daily chart. That is a new all-time high for IWM today. Outside day, lower low, higher high, closing over a trap over the 17 EMA. IWM getting it done today. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. And on Diamond Dow, we got the outside day. All right, so that's a higher high and a lower low, closing over the bearish trap and over the 17 EMA. And that's just an outside day right there. Okay, so price action, we should probably put the quad lines on there. Okay, so they're closed inside the neutral area. Okay, they did visit the bearish area, but they closed inside the neutral. So neutral to bullish up here on Diamond Dow, all the way up here at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, that's still bullish, but neutral bullish on the shortest time frame because you got, price action is made a lower low, so they're in a downtrend right now unless they make a higher high and they close from the perspective of that all-time high back down to this exhaustion candle low. They closed inside the midpoint right here, which makes them kind of neutral, so neutral bullish up there on Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at FNGU. FNGU on the daily candle. So you've got the quad lines on there for FNGU. Let's probably drag this over to here. Okay, so FNGU got a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17 EMA. FNGU clearly not as strong as IWM or Diamond Dow. FNGU putting in lower high, lower low, closing under a trap under flat 17. You can see they're actually closing in the bearish section of the quad lines down here. So they're kind of bearish, but yet at the top of quadrant 4, kind of bullish. So be careful with this one. Kind of neutral then, got a little bit of each. On the shorter time frame, they're bearish. On the bigger picture, they're still bullish. But then again, it comes down to what have you done for me lately? And it hasn't been much, all right? It's not enough. It's not much, all right? So, again, we've got a lower high, and we put in a lower low. That makes us in a downtrend, and we're closing down here in the bearish section of the quadrant lines. So not a good look for FNGU, all right? Let's take a look at gold and silver. By the way, FNGU still on the weekly chart in an uptrend, and the monthly chart in an uptrend right there. Same thing with Diamond Dow. Okay, monthly's in an uptrend. Weekly, obviously, in an uptrend. IWM, of course, making new all-time highs. So you can see weekly's in an uptrend, and monthly is in an uptrend right there. Okay, so there's all of those. Take a look at GLD. Look at it on the daily chart. On the daily chart, we've got a new all-time high for GLD today. All right, so new all-time high. Drop the mic. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, let's take a look at SLV. Silver putting in a lower high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the rising 17 EMA. This is all they got left to make a new all-time high. Just that little bit of space between this green line and that light green line up there. So made a new rally high yesterday. Today they tried, we got a lower high and a lower low closing over the bullish trap and over the 17. That's bullish up there in quadrant 4 and in an uptrend for silver. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, USO in a downtrend. They look, they're making lower highs and lower lows, so that's a downtrend. They're not in the upper third, that would be bullish. They're not in the lower third, that would be bearish. So they're just neutral here. And make a note, they're on the bearish side of neutrality, so definitely not ready yet. Okay, maybe they put in a bottom here and then a rally out of there. All right, so watch for that to possibly happen. Obviously not ready yet. They haven't been ready for a long time. Okay, every time they go up, see, they just give it up. Okay, it's just not ready yet on the oil funds. Take a look at UNG. Now UNG down here at the bottom of quadrant 1. I'll pan out so you can see that. There's 4, 3, 2, 1 down here. That's an all-time low right there. Okay, in August. Okay, for UNG. Man, we're digging in the dirt here. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the 17 EMA. Definitely in a downtrend, and definitely bearish, and making an attack on the all-time lows right there. So who knows where they go. So they're obviously not ready yet. Not ready to turn around and hold some higher ground, obviously. So UNG in a downtrend right there and bearish. All right, let's take a look at technicals and T2101 on the 15-minute chart. You can see, well, we gapped up. And then we got bullish, but notice when we got bullish, we were losing more and more participation. When we were bearish, we were increasing. This is where we left off the previous day. When we were bearish early in the morning, we were increasing the volatility. And then as the bulls came in and took over control, okay, of the price action, notice more and more parties left, more and more people left the party. Okay, so there's T2101. We get more participation when we're bearish, so we'll see what happens. We did make a higher high, and we did make a lower low, so it was really like an outside day there for T2101. T2122, okay, so we popped out of the oversold zone, okay, right over airborne over the sell zone. Made some pit stops in the sell zone, in the seller's chop zone, and wound up camping out all day, just kind of wandering around inside the buyer's chop zone right here, just kind of finding all 4 corners here to see where the weakest link might be so we can make a breakout. All right, but all in all, staying up here in the buyer's chop zone. Nice bullish day for T2122. T2123, all right, was in a downtrend and under the 200 SMA, not my favorite place to be. For price action, here's a high. There's a higher low, and you can clearly see right up here we're rising up over this green line, whereas the day before we were not. So this is in a 15-minute uptrend right now. Currently in a 15-minute uptrend, but I'm going to say they're not moving up. Okay, they're just kind of moving to the right. Okay, so they're in a 15-minute uptrend. They're under the 200, and they're not moving up. All right, that's all I can say about that. T2123. Take a look at the 3-bar chart. 3-bar chart, I'll zoom way out. This is the 2025 low. This is the 2025 high. This was the prior all-time high, but we made a higher low, and then we produced a higher high up here. You notice price action has faded underneath the 200 SMA. Again, not my favorite place to be. Okay, and you still got price action. You can see the low here under the 17, the red dots. And we made a lower low and a lower high. See, there's a high, we made a lower high, and we made a lower low. So we're still in a downtrend on T2123. That's crazy, even with IWM making new all-time highs. That's crazy. How come it was not represented here? It was in the T2122 T2 was looking good right there. That was looking good. T21.01, you can see obviously bullish sentiment right here. Okay, with more and more people leaving the party right there, so more and more bullish sentiment there. But T21.23, if we look at the 15-minute just one more time, we'll see that we gapped down and the bulls filled the gap. Okay, so nice work on the bulls part there. We gapped down, bulls filled the gap. In all, we just went sideways, but IWM, in the midst of going sideways, IWM managed to ink out a new all-time high right there. So strange days right now. T21.23. FNGU, okay, gap down, not filled by the bulls. Okay, that's not a good sign. Back underneath the 200 SMA, again, not my favorite place to be. Price action, not making any higher highs, of course. There's the high we left off with. And here's the low. We obviously made a lower low. See, there's the prior low. Well, we made a lower low, so we're in a downtrend here. And FNGU in a downtrend underneath the 200 SMA. Okay. If we look at FNGU on the daily chart, you'll see, okay, it's clearly still a little bullish up there. Again, it did break and make a lower low, so it's in a downtrend. Just not moving up right now. Okay, so there's FNGU on the 15-minute chart right up there. Okay, I'll pan way out so you can see all the quad lines. I can't go any further. All right, that's it for the day. How I traded today, we can take a look at that. All right, we did. All right, so I'm going to go to SPY because that's all I traded today was some SPY. And we'll pull up the 5-minute chart. And all right, so I'm bidding for some CGC calls. I didn't get filled. So I'm bidding for 5 at 9, bidding for 5 at 8 cents, and bidding for 5 at, that needs to be a 7 cents right there. Okay, the next one is 17 days till expiration, 640 puts. All right, so I got some 17, trying to get some. I got 5 of those. 17 days till expiration, 640 puts right there, bought 5 of those. Didn't do anything with them today, just kind of secured them as part of a position. 680 calls, 10 days till expiration, didn't do anything with those today. Actually just added to the position, all right, bringing my cost basis down as price kind of melted off on those calls. 645 puts, 3 days till expiration. Didn't do anything. Actually just purchased those at the end of the day. Noticing that we were up in the third, up there at the top. Okay, in the quadrant lines, way up top here. And based on this quadrant lines right through there, I'm trying to think if I can see it. Here it is. Okay, so we kind of meandered from down here at the low back up to the midpoint right there. So price action just kind of staying not in the upper third where it would have been bullish, staying in the lower third where it was briefly. All right, so you can see I bought some more puts based on not being able to make much of a significant higher high. All right, but then again, earlier today we were not able to make a significant lower low either. Okay, so probably going to consolidate in a pennant or a bear flag down here, somewhere between the upper third of this quadrant line and the bottom. All right, so anywhere between here and here, probably going to consolidate here on SPY. Being since it's a failure to make a significant lower low and a failure to make a significant higher high. Okay, so there's SPY on those. Made $33 on some 649 puts. Again, I bought the I bought the well, these were actually a spread. So I was short, and then I covered, and then I got short again on this pullback right there. So that was short puts. 656.22. Those were puts long. I had some of those from earlier last night. All right, and we gapped up, so I sold them right into this rally right here. Did not expect those candles to form, so I sold them first thing. And then as price started to not get anywhere, I bought some more puts right here up at the top of this, because we're up at the upper third. Noticing, I bought the puts, noticing we were unable to make it into the upper third, almost as if there was a concrete wall up there preventing price from entering the upper third, which would have been bullish. All right, so the bulls just couldn't get it up there and hold that higher ground. And on that note, I bought some puts, and I took some profit with those puts when price dipped right there. You can see my profits right through here. Took a lot of profit into this dip that pulled back to VWAP right there. Made $51 on some calls. Again, I bought the lows, sold the highs, bought the lows, kind of sold the highs. And then I'll imagine they got too pricey up here. Yeah, they did. Up at $1.21. I don't like trading up over $1.20. My preferable spot to trade is somewhere between 30 cents and $1.20. Between $1.20 and 30 cents. Not to say that I won't buy some that are more expensive than that, but that's my favorite place to day trade, is in there. All right, any bigger than that, and usually there's more than a penny spread, and I don't like that when it's more than a penny spread. So there's SPY again, reloading into the close as price dips down right there. All right, some 3,400 on some 670 calls. Again, bought the lows and sold the peaks. Bought the lows and sold the peaks, and that's it. Just closed those out. 13K on some 667 calls. Price was bullish up here, so I bought the lows of the option candle and sold the highs. Bought the lows and sold the highs right into the close. We were bullish, so I didn't mind getting bullish up here in the nosebleed section way up top there. But anyways, it was bullish. I noticed it was holding strong for more than 6 10-minute candles, holding that higher ground. For me, I like that. For me, that's a bullish environment. And on that note, I bought some calls and sold into strength or into these little mini rallies coming off this base right through there. I made 6,600 on some 669 calls. Again, bought the lows, sold the highs. Bought the lows, tried to sell the highs on those. Made 66K. No, it's 66K. 6K 600. Made 1K on these. Again, buying the lows and selling the highs. And made 842 on some 635 calls. 0 DTE. Again, selling the high, buying the lows, and then selling the highs again right there. On some 600 calls, made 4K on those. Again, I don't like them when they're up over $1 and $1.20. So you can see I pretty much, they got up to here, and I said, that's it. I'm going to bail on them. And I put on some music and just started singing to the music, because we didn't have anything happening right here. Again, when they get up over $1.20, I'm not a big fan of it. It eats up a lot of my buying power, and I like to get more than one, because I like to have a range of execution when I get in. I don't like to buy all my whole position at once. I like to use like a shotgun approach and spread out. I like to spread out the bids or the entry, all right, into it, so I can have a decent cost basis. I don't like buying at the highs. I don't like chasing, and because of that, I have I kind of create a box. I call it my range of execution box, and I try to pick off the lows of those option candles until I get that turnaround. And you can see that was me picking off the lows of those option candles and then selling the peaks of those. And then, of course, it got up over $1.20 or $2. And I said, I'll just take my profits and roll it into something else, which you can see I did. I went into these 662s, 663, 670 calls that were much cheaper. And I was able to make a lot of money on those because it's not easy to make a lot of money when you're dealing with $2 options or $3 options with 5-cent spread sometimes. All right, so that's it for me for today. All right, I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock. All right, on Thursday. I think we got a members-only webinar. I'll see everybody in the morning at 8 o'clock. For hard to ask a question, maybe it's an old question, I don't know. Bullish all morning. Yeah, we already answered that one. Thanks for hard. 600 calls expiring when? My position's right here, and I'm not holding any of these. All right, I got 40 of those, which will probably be a loss, as you can see already. I don't have any 600 calls in my queue, and I didn't trade any. I traded 660, traded 660 calls, and they expired today. Traded 665 calls, they expired today. 668 calls expired today. 667 and 669 calls, they expired today. 670 calls expired today, and 663 calls that expired today. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. You guys have an awesome. You know what? I want to say congrats to everybody that made money today. You traded a nice trend day, and you followed and you stuck with the 10-minute uptrend. And I just want to pat everybody on the back. High five. Thank you so much for seeing the potential in the strategy that I share time and time. This is my flagship trading strategy, is that 10-minute uptrend. And I like it even better when it's over VWAP. I like it even more better when it's over anchored VWAP and VWAP. I like it even more better than that when it's over all of those, and in a 2-hour uptrend that resides inside of a daily uptrend, inside of the weekly, inside of the monthly. Okay, so you get the picture. Get all the bigger time frames supporting my 10-minute uptrend. All right, so I'll see you guys all tomorrow. We'll do it again. Make some more money tomorrow. All right. Many thanks. Yes, thank you, Robert. We'll see you all tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Thank you so much.